Well, welcome, and thank you all for tuning in to learn from our three Women's Net grant winners today. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Marilyn Yacobovsky of Lemonade Stand, who's our startup grant winner. And as you may know, our startup grant is for an entrepreneur who's in the early stage of developing their business, or maybe has launched but hasn't yet hit $10,000 in revenue. Heather Cook of Autism Chrysalis is our business specific grant winner.
Oh,
And this last month, the business specific category for May was mental and emotional support.
wow.
And then Rozanna Weinberger of Rozanna's Violins is our Amber Grant winner. And the Amber Grant is open to all women business owners in the US and Canada. I'm Marsha Layton Turner. I'm one of several Women's Net advisory board members, and every other month I get the pleasure of chatting with and learning from our amazing winners. So Marilyn, Heather, and Rozanna, thank you again for making time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So
Yeah.
let's tell everybody a little bit about you. And so I'm going to go down the line and ask each of you the same question, starting with you, Heather. Could you tell everybody just a little bit about your company, what you sell, where you got the idea, and how things are going?
Sure. So I work with people who have figured out, mostly as adults, that they're autistic or autistic and ADHD. And I figured out that I'm autistic at 33. I got diagnosed at 34, and that was a turning point in my life. It explained so much: why relationships had been hard, why I'd always say the awkward thing, why I needed things to be just so and got so upset at changes. But it also explained why I was really good at some things that other people struggled with. And I spent the next few years completely rebuilding my life from the ground up, processing my history through this new lens, figuring out my sensory needs, healing old wounds. The depression and anxiety faded, and I finally broke the cycle of burning out every few years. I've been burnout free since 2015. After a few years, people noticed the differences in me and started asking me to talk to their cousin, their friend who was autistic. And I found out that I was actually good at it and I liked it. When I was working through my own stuff, I looked for help, and there was almost nothing out there designed for autistic adults, or nothing that wasn't pathologizing. So I started this coaching practice, Autism Chrysalis, and at the beginning of 2021, I'm now a credentialed professional certified coach with the ICF and a Martha Beck certified master coach, and I've logged over 2,000 coaching hours one-on-one with private clients. And I've made several online courses and workshops about common issues to reach more people than I could serve individually. The thing is, when you realize as an adult that you're autistic or ADHD, autistic and ADHD, it's huge. But understanding why life has been so hard doesn't just suddenly make it better. There's still so much baggage from decades of being told that you are broken or difficult or too much. What I help people with is going from understanding to actually making things better, because I've been through it myself.
Amazing. Thank
You know,
you.
I want to like jump in and ask you questions, but I know that's not what we're doing right now. That's awesome. It's incredible.
Thanks, Marilyn. So Rozanna, let's go to you. Can you tell everybody a little bit about your business, where you got the idea, what you do?
Sure. I studied music for many years. From as early as I can remember, I was playing and singing, and my family was doing all kinds of performances together. And I went on to study at Juilliard and work professionally for many years. But I also had a really pivotal experience not soon after I graduated. There was an article in the New York Times, and it cited the large number of graduates from the school unable to actually find work in their respective fields. And that was really, that sounded the alarm to me. That said to me that, Darwinism was having its way, and that we had to learn from this, that it was a teachable moment. So a couple things I concluded from that. One was that we need to teach youth in a more creative way. Actually, as Heather mentioned, youth learn in many different ways. Some youth respond to sound readily, some need a visual, and much more specifically, really young kids love what they're doing when it's sort of multisensory experience. The other reason that I wanted to create my company is I wanted to create something that would get youth to want to play music, specifically to strive to be able to play a violin, viola, cello. I not only did I believe in the tools it would give them for life, I believe that music has the ability to really cultivate one's heart. And I believe that when we can cultivate a youth's heart, I think that they will become human beings who have more compassion for the people around them, who can become citizens of the world, who we can really entrust this world to, that's definitely the philosophical reason that I founded my company. And the more practical one was that I really saw a need for violins to be as relatable as guitars. I looked at the guitar market as a model. I saw that guitars could be available for all kinds of styles and appealing to all kinds of people. So I felt that one way that I could really address the ability to bring in more people into the fold was to make violins more relatable, not only really high quality, but ones that kids go, oh my gosh, I want to play that instrument. So, that is, seeing smiles is always the end result, and the end goal in my company. And that's certainly at the heart of why I do what I do.
Excellent. And I can attest as a former cello player for a long time,
Oh my God.
that learning that had really helped me in physics.
Wow.
It's yeah, learned too late in college that like there were a lot of overlap. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Not my story. Let's go on to
Okay.
Marilyn.
Okay.
Marilyn, can you tell us a little bit about your company and what it
Sure.
does, where the idea came from?
And Rosanna, I think that was a great segue because I am also working on a business for kids, a kids that can help them do more of what they love to do. So
Okay.
I have created this business called Lemonade Stand, which is a kid-first safe marketplace online where kids can take the things that they're already making. For my daughter, and I can tell you how we got into this. She makes these little rainbow loom bracelets, and she has been like wanting to sell them. So she tried selling them at recess. She also tried to start like 3 other businesses at recess. She's in the 2nd grade. So 7 years old, very entrepreneurial. But she and I were watching a movie one night and on cable TV because we were at a hotel and normally we don't watch on cable TV. And so she started seeing ads and she was like, why do these ads keep interrupting our movie? And what is Shopify anyway? And I was like, oh, well, that's actually what I do. So I have a background in e-commerce. I've run a business for BarkBox and then recently a filter company and like a D2C subscription company. And so I'm explaining to her, like, well, people sell their things online. And she's smart. So she put it together and she was like, oh, can I sell my bracelets online? Like, can I have a Shopify? And I was like, yes, but no, but yes. And so I started looking into places that she could go online to build a website and sort of like give her what she wanted, which is she just wants to sell like one, right? Like maybe not one, maybe 10. She's not looking to build like an enterprise rainbow loom operation. She wants to like sell it with friends and family. And there really wasn't that place to send her. And so I was like, thinking about it and I was like, I think I can build this. I think I could build this for you. And so I know this is getting into your next question, Marcia, but I used some of the AI tools now that allow somebody who doesn't have a technical background to build a website. And I started building out this marketplace for her that is really designed to be kid first in terms of its design and how you use it, but it also teaches them the principles of running a business. So like, what does it mean to tell people about your business? How do you know if you're making money? Like, how much does it cost to buy the rainbow loom, rubber bands? And then what are you going to sell them for? And so the idea was really to teach kids the thing that we all learned by setting up a lemonade stand in our driveway, but doing it with sort of a native online generation. So that's the business.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So now let's talk a little bit about, and you touched on it, Marilyn, what are some resources, or maybe if you had to pick like 1 or 2 resources that you found especially helpful as you were getting started or even as you started to grow for Heather and Rosanna as you're farther along in your journey. What would you recommend to other women business owners as far as resources? And Rosanna, let's start with you this time.
Sure. I mean, I could definitely speak wholeheartedly to the SCORE um, entity. I came across it. I think I was searching for help because they definitely don't teach you business skills at Juilliard or any of the conservatories that I went to. So I think finding mentors from SCORE was absolutely instrumental because I had the good fortune to be in front of world-class business people who really kicked the tires on my ideas. I would come in thinking I'm a genius, and by the time I was done, well, let's just say that I got a lot of really great constructive criticism. And I think, in running any company, there are going to be things that we're naturally good at and things that we have no skill set for whatsoever. And I think having a mentor who's able to point out to you, oh, great, your idea is great, but what about your books? How are you going to actually achieve this monetarily? And how are you going to really plan accordingly and really take when it's needed, a triage approach to your finances so you can achieve your goals? So certainly that has been really helpful. And also the She Rocks Awards, which I believe is actually part of the Women's Net community. Winning that award was an incredible opportunity. It was a source of prestige, but it also brought me together with a lot of like-minded women with whom I've really come to feel a great sisterhood. And then last but not least, I would say Wealth, which I came across also because of my SCORE mentor, and they were able to give me a loan. But in addition to that, they gave me their hearts and all their efforts to really support me along the way.
Wonderful.
So,
That's great.
yeah.
So Marilyn, you touched on
Yep.
AI, and so I'm curious
Mhm.
to hear about which one you went with and what other resources maybe you found useful.
So I have played with like nearly all of them, but the one that I found to be particularly helpful starting things up was Claude, Claude Code in particular, because you can just describe in plain language what you need, and it really will just start wiring things up. And I think that what was so helpful about it was that this time around, and I've tried to start businesses in the past, and as a non-technical person, finding partners that can help you and people that will sort of give you their time and expertise when you don't have a lot to give back at that point in time is difficult. And so this time when I was able to just say get over the hump of what would this even look like, and just start chatting with it, well, I think it would look like this, and I think that there might be stores in this place, and this is how the dashboard for the kids would come out and what options they could actually edit. And then it just starts wiring it up for you. And there's a little bit of a, kind of dopamine, oh, there it is. And I did this thing and now it's live. But what was really amazing is having the background to know enough about what I needed. I know I needed to wire in a database. I know that I needed certain elements within the business to actually make it a business. I could also chat with Claude about, when do these things become helpful to wire into the site, and can you help me, set up an account with Supabase or whatever it is, that's the database, whatever it is that would allow me to then bring it to life. And so that tool absolutely changed the game for me in terms of getting it out of my head and then, onto the screen.
Amazing. Yeah, I
The
love
other
Claude too.
little plug that I would give, because you said outside of AI,
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of podcasts. There are great podcasts from Wharton professors. Katie Milkman comes to mind, Angela Duckworth. And I didn't actually go to business school. I've run businesses without going to business school. I kind of learned by doing. But listening to them and just kind of getting motivated through little lessons and ways to just kind of take things out into the real world was also, I found very motivating. So listen to some of their podcasts and play with Claude is what I would say.
And who was the first one that you mentioned?
Oh, Katie Milkman. She is a professor of economics at the Wharton Business School at Pennsylvania. And she wrote a book called How to Change that was really incredible. And I find motivating if you're trying to just sort of develop new habits and kind of move yourself into a new, really anything, move yourself into a new career, develop a new habit. So I always find her really inspiring. And she has a podcast called Choiceology that is like appointment listening for me. I love her.
Awesome. Fascinating. I love these.
Yeah.
And Heather, how about you?
One thing that really was important to me from the beginning of my business was finding other entrepreneurs who were teaching ethical marketing. Of course, I knew that I needed to let people know that the work I'm doing exists, but there's always been this tension for me between that and not wanting anyone to feel pressured or talked into something. For me, it's a matter of honoring their personal sovereignty. My clients have often spent their whole lives being pushed into things that didn't fit them. And the last thing that I want is for my marketing to feel like more of that. It should be about helping them figure out if what I'm offering is a good fit. So finding people like Tad Hargrave and Kelly Deals who were building businesses around genuine connection and high consent practices and modeled how to do that was so important. It shaped how I structured everything right from the beginning. Oh, and one other thing is the autistic community itself. There's a huge amount of peer knowledge and lived experience being shared openly, people figuring things out together. A lot of that didn't exist 10 years ago when I figured out that I'm autistic, but it's growing. And I've contributed to that by sharing a lot of genuinely valuable resources completely for free. And that collective support has been so important, both personally and professionally.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. So going from talking about resources, let's talk about marketing and what you've seen so far that has worked. And Marilyn, I know you have tons of experience, so I know you can speak to this, but sometimes startups don't have a lot of historical data to go look at. But let's start with you and what marketing strategies or resources or anything related to marketing have you found works?
Yeah, I actually learned something new this time around and there was something that helped tremendously, which was not something that I had used in my past businesses. Exactly to your point, like when you're sort of established, the channels that you would use that might cost a little bit more to get started, you have access to different resources. Starting from scratch, the channel that has helped me the most was WhatsApp, which is, I think, surprising to most people. But I have kids. And so I'm in about 6 or 7 different WhatsApp channels from like the PTA or the gymnastics team, or like I live in Manhattan. And so like Battery Park City Moms has their own channel. Like there's just all these different communities of people that are, they're there to help each other, like, or, just get to know each other and create community. And so when I was launching the business, after I finally decided like I got to get it out of my head and onto the screen and then like tell people about it, I posted in first in the PTA group at school, which is not run by the school, it's just a parents organization. And there's about, I don't know, 100 or so people in there. And within an hour and a half, I had 60 kids signed up for my pilot, which was wild. It was like wildfire, and like to the point where I actually had to like switch the venue. So what we're going to do is have a group of kids in person test it and learn it. And so I can also see like how they're responding to it and what things they like and what they don't like. But it was within an hour and a half, I had like double the number of kids that I thought I would have. And then since then, like it keeps trickling. And so like people share it around. And yeah, being a part of WhatsApp communities genuinely helped me get from like 0 to, a full pilot and then some.
That's fascinating because
Yeah.
I never and WhatsApp would not have been on my list.
No,
So
I know.
very cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was great. And because it's like conversational, you were talking to people, they kind of ask you questions. It doesn't feel quite like a flyer that is,
Right.
stale. But I think that helped a lot too.
Wonderful. Heather, how about you? What marketing wise has worked for you?
Well, kind of like I've already touched on, my primary marketing strategy has been creating genuinely useful free content and putting it out into the world, like free workshops and articles on things like how to recover from autistic burnout, what to expect in the later identified autism journey, how to figure out your sensory differences, and practical tips on how to tell people that you're autistic. Content that resonates with people in a way that makes them feel seen and understood and that solves genuine problems. And some of the people who see that will want to go deeper and will naturally look to see what else I have. and that's created a lot of organic SEO. And just in the last year, I started to learn more about SEO and get more intentional with it. And about 50% of the people who reach out to me say that they found me through an internet search.
Hmm.
So my honest advice would be to make something that's genuinely valuable and then make it easy for the people who are already looking for that to find it.
Yep. Excellent advice. Excellent. And Rozanna, how about you?
Oh, well, I think as far as marketing goes, certainly for my company, from the start, we had a certain kind of advantage because we were such a differentiator out of the gate, you know, and that's one of the reasons online, for example, we tend to do very well because online, so many musical instruments, violins in particular, kind of look the same to a certain sector, to the people who didn't, get trained to know what they're looking at, but our instruments obviously stand out. And then I think the other thing that we do is we try to fill a need, we try to fill a gap. So for example, we've created instruments, that with like our street art instruments, instruments that resonate with different cultures, that resonate with different age groups and so forth. We do a bit of research to really understand what will be compelling to, to our different markets. And I think, definitely, finding a differentiator, I think is very important. Certainly with a new project we have coming up with an integrated musical instrument, we did a lot of research to really determine how we could differentiate and really excel. And then finally, I do want to say AI has been very helpful. I know that this is something that is controversial, and I'm glad to hear that many people have had positive experiences. I can say for sure as an entrepreneur that certain tasks that I need to get done that I simply did not have the budget to hire people for, I was able to get help with using AI. My website, as an example, I happen to use Shopify. It's not an ad for Shopify, but they actually happen to have a fairly nice AI tool
Yeah.
such that I can teach myself just the tiniest bit of coding and get quite a bit done, not to mention the types of generation of content that I would have to hire people to do that I simply don't have the luxury of. So, I definitely am appreciative of that from that respect. So,
Excellent.
yeah. Yeah.
So, last question.
Mm.
What's one thing that the Women's Net community can do to show support for your business? And if you three aren't already aware, aren't already a part, we have a Facebook group that is now close to 28,000 women business owners. So we have a lot of people looking to support each other. So Heather, let's start with you. What's one thing that our community might be able to do to support your business?
Well, first, please let me say how much it means to me to be recognized like this.
Mhm.
This has been so validating in a way that's really hard to put into words. I have spent most of my life being the odd one out. And
Aw.
for an organization that I respect, like Women's Net, to look at this work and say that it matters, that even awkward people like me matter, that this work is worth supporting, it's going to make a real difference for what I can do next. And then the one thing that I would ask is if anything that I've said today resonates with you, or you know someone who's figured out that they're autistic or ADHD, please send them to autismchrysalis.com. That's CHRYSALIS.com. I put out free content regularly, and if what they find speaks to them and they feel a little less alone and a little more seen and understood, that's the whole reason that I do this work.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Rosanna, how about you?
What was the question again? I'm
Question
sorry.
is
I was so
what's
busy
one thing
listening.
what's
Sorry.
one thing that
Oh, yes. I
women's
remember now.
community can do?
I appreciate it. Sorry about that. Um, I think, first of all, definitely the platform to make my business known to that many more people is invaluable, and I'm utterly grateful for that. Um, and I think the other thing, the first thing that came to mind actually when you asked that question was where it's possible, sometimes people need one-on-one with somebody, um, a one-on-one mentor. Sometimes people may not divulge things that they're struggling with in a Facebook group, because it's something that they're maybe embarrassed to talk about, that's too hard to talk about, especially when, you know what I mean? We can think of all the different things that we don't like to share publicly. And so in that regard, if there's some way, certainly to whatever extent that we can volunteer, to be of service here. But you know what I mean? It's easier for me to say, what somebody else should do, but I just think it's possible that component might be useful for people.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Marilyn, how about you? What's one thing that we can do to support Lemonade Stand?
I will make it easy for you. It's still free. And so the website right now, I obviously have plans to be able to generate revenue in the future. But right now, I just want to learn about what kids like and what works for them and what doesn't work for them. So if you have a kid, if you know kids, grandkids, especially ones that are, budding entrepreneurs with bracelet businesses or selling, bedazzled items or greeting cards, there's actually lots of ideas on the site for ways for kids to start a business. But get them on there and play with it and email me. Like, let me know what they like. Let me know what they don't like. Feedback at this point is so invaluable. And so, yeah, getting on there and playing with the tool and letting me know what resonates with you would be wonderful.
Love it. Great idea. So thank you three again for sharing your stories with us, making the time to be here today, and congratulations again for being our 3 May grant winners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you very much.